Welcome to the BXG podcast, a podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as Jon Favreau and Easter eggs. I am one of your hosts, Brenton Bestwick, alongside my co-host, the always exciting player to be named later, Greg Filson.
It would be great if I was a player to be and I showed up and they're like, "You can't hit anything. What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I can feel a little bit."
Sounds like a perfect pickup for the Pirates.
I would be a pickup for the Pirates. Touch on that later.
So we want to welcome in all of our listeners who currently hail as far away as Indonesia. And that's right. The BXG podcast is worldwide. It publishes every Friday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Podbean and trickles out to other services throughout the day. It's just as a reminder, we do have official BXG social media accounts on Facebook page, Instagram, BXG Podcast, Twitter at BXG Podcast. Plus, the static images of the podcast are completely uploaded to YouTube. So if you're one of those psychos, you can that chooses to listen to your podcast on YouTube with a static image, you're all set. We can be reached either on the Facebook page or at bxgpodcast@gmail.com. Today is election day.
It is.
As we're recording this, it is November 3rd. And I want to take a peek at some legislative revisionist history, if that's all right with you.
Fine with me.
Order 66, which many a Star Wars fan will know, Order 66 was the order that was executed by Anakin Skywalker to decimate the Jedi. Could you imagine how Order 66 would have been pulled off if it had to pass through both the House, the Senate, and the executive branches in the United States?
I mean, who are the Jedi in America right now, I guess?
I don't know. They're little kids in ICE facilities on the Texas border.
So it would have been interesting. I mean, not to share our politics, but I'm guessing it would have went through if it were right now.
Sure, they probably would have tacked on a few riders. Like, you can kill all the Jedi, but we also have to legalize marijuana in 7 states and pay for roads.
Sure.
And tax hikes. Corrections. We discussed the Tomb Raider movies last week. We said we couldn't think of the actress who portrayed Lara Croft, and weren't sure how well it did critically or commercially. The Tomb Raider reboot starred Alicia Vikander, who's best known probably for her role as Ava in 2014's Ex Machina as Lara Croft, and it did warrant a sequel, which was just announced to be indefinitely delayed.
The second you stopped the show last week, I remembered her name, and I love that movie, Ex Machina.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
One of my favorite spooky sci-fi films. We literally watched.
I think it's scarier than literally any scary movie. It's just scarier for different reasons.
It's right up there. Right, exactly. Yeah. So sorry we forgot her name. If she's a listener, we apologize.
I'm confident she's not.
If she's not a listener, she might be.
She isn't.
Well, if she is, she's probably the most attractive listener we have. So she's very pretty. Unless Lady Gaga is listening, which that'd be cool.
She's
Let
definitely
us know,
not.
Lady Gaga, if you're listening, by the way.
She isn't.
At me.
I can say that with ironclad certainty that she's not listening.
Fair.
We do have the most listener inquiries that we've had for any episode, so that's really exciting. So the first one comes from Barry J. He writes in and asks, what childhood toy would you like to see make a comeback, either as a total comeback or a resurgence in popularity?
My biggest, and I don't know, I think they're still popular, were Ninja Turtles. And I'm assuming they're still kind of popular. My favorite thing was the bus, not the bus, the van that threw pizzas. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite Ninja Turtle toy. So if that could somehow come in a resurgence where it threw actual pizzas at my mouth, that would be cool.
I think that Ninja Turtles probably haven't seen as much of a resurgence as, say, like G.I. Joes or Transformers.
Sure.
They just released a new line of the G.I. Joe 3 3/4 inch action figures. I'm going to go out on a huge limb here. I'm going to say the toy I'd like to see make a comeback is Pogs.
Pogs.
Yeah, do you remember Pogs?
Fun. Oh, I love Slammers.
I mean, they didn't. Yeah. So what's weird is I just had a conversation with
I
someone
think you're going to say
about what
Lincoln
Pogs
Logs,
are.
by the way. just to interrupt you, but Lincoln Logs. I thought you were going to go Lincoln Logs. He just left the room. What's going on? He's gone. He's gone from the episode. You have Lincoln Logs. Oh my God. That's incredible. I wish we had this. That he has a tub of Lincoln Logs.
Yeah, these are
content.
They're not mine, obviously.
Are they?
No, they're my son's. But we do build cabins and things from time to time.
Sure.
But anyway, for pogs, for our Indonesian listeners who don't know what pogs are, or if you're from Cairn City and you don't know what pogs are, they're like these little discs, and they would have pictures on them, and you would put them in a stack. I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 inches high, and then you'd have a thick one that was like hard rubber, plastic, or metal, or whatever, and you would throw it at the stack as hard as you can, and the ones that would flip over then are yours. So it was almost like it was almost like gambling for 8 and 9-year-olds, because usually you would play for keeps, right? You play for keeps,
heck yeah.
and you'd keep them in these big long tubes and everything. So I would love to see pogs make a comeback. I don't think that we will see pogs make a comeback, but I'd like to see pogs make a comeback.
It might be that whole thing where like people are like, we need to go back to our roots. Some guy out in the middle of nowhere just like, hey son, I have these, and then it just starts. It goes on TikTok pogs.
Yeah, TikTok's a thing, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I don't understand it because I'm old, but
right.
Yeah, I just don't understand why it's a thing. But maybe that's how it happens. Guys just drinking cranberry juice, playing pogs on his skateboard. And
that's a lot.
He's got the Pretenders playing just to mix it up.
Right. Melissa B writes in and asks, will Ariana Grande ever forgo the high ponytail look?
I hope not. That's her look. That's her jam. That's why I love her. Also, she's just cute, and her music's good, but that high pony.
Yeah, it's her signature look.
When I had long hair, I went high pony when I ran. So, because it was more comfortable running than the low pony, because the low pony snaps you in the neck. The high pony just stays.
Right.
You're trying the high pony right now. Not essentially works. I have long hair. I can't do any pony. I could do a little pony if I wanted to. It'd look more like a rat tail. Haven't had a haircut since February.
Yeah, me either. Not true. Tyler M and John K combined to write in.
Who's Tyler M? I don't know who that is.
He's a listener.
He is.
Yeah. Tyler M and John K combined to write in for you to rate these dancers: Michael Jackson, Shane Bieber, Usher, Justin Timberlake, and Napoleon Dynamite.
Ooh, throwing Napoleon Dynamite in the mix. Michael Jackson's number 1 because the reason that any of those other people dance is because of Michael Jackson. So then I'd probably go Justin Timberlake 2, Usher 3, Napoleon Dynamite 4, and then Justin Bieber 5. Shane Bieber, however you look at it.
Shane Bieber dances on the mountain better than any of these cockadoodie.
Maybe.
No, there's no maybe about it.
Dances the ball around on the plate. The thing I will say is I think there was maybe 5 or 6 years ago there was a Super Bowl in New Orleans. I don't remember specifically, but Justin Timberlake and Usher had a dance-off at a bar the Saturday before. And essentially, I guess it was crazy. People lost their minds over it. I don't know if anyone won, but I know who won. Everyone that was there at the bar. But yeah, Michael Jackson's number 1. Michael Jackson's probably the best dancer of all time, musically. If not counting people that actually do it like as ballet and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go into that kind of thing because then things just get off the rails. But as a pop culture hit, Michael Jackson, best dancer.
What is Michael Jackson's favorite holiday?
I don't know.
Halloween.
That makes sense. I thought it would be like, 4th of July.
No, wrong. I don't really have a
Lucky Day because it bubbles.
Bob Sacamano writes in.
Oh, there's Tyler M.
No, this is Bob Sacamano.
This is a different person. Oh, okay.
They're two different.
All right.
They're two different people.
All right.
Bob Sacamano writes in and asks, "Is Thanos a better villain than Iron Man is a hero?" I don't know how to.
I will actually say I think up until spoiler, until the
hold on,
last Avengers
spoilers.
movie.
Spoilers for Avengers Endgame. If you live in a duplex and Dwayne Johnson lives on the top floor and you've been living under the rock, spoilers for Avengers Endgame. Go ahead.
If you're the 5 people haven't seen it, I think up until that movie, Thanos was, but then Iron Man kind of rerouted the ship and said, "I'm a better hero than you're a villain," which I think was the point. I think there was a whole thing where, like, are we not supposed to think Iron Man is, we don't know what to think of Iron Man because of Civil War, because of all that stuff, but I think there was the redemption on that. And if you go into the comic books, it's a whole different thing. But I'm assuming we're talking movies.
Right.
Comic books is a completely crazy world that I don't even know if we can. That's like 2-episode arc. That's a crazy series. The Infinity stuff.
I guess my thing is if you look at every Avengers movie, he says Captain America says in the original Avengers to Iron Man, "You're not the guy that's going to lay down on the grenade or lay over the tripwire." But he kind of proves in all of those movies that he is. I mean, he's the one that flies the nuke into the wormhole in the original one. He's the one who's going to catch the city before it, collides with the Earth and essentially eradicates life on Earth. He's the one who flies into space. He's the one with the snap at the end. Spoilers. He is consistently that guy.
I will say, I think he is that initially for selfish reasons, because I don't think he knew what he was going to do. And then when he, he gets married, I think then it becomes different. I think before all that happens, it's more or less like, I don't know what I'm doing. I might as well, if I end this, I end this. I don't think it was for, I think it was more of like a selfish hero pride more than actually being a hero. I think he kind of wanted to get out of it beforehand, and then, later in the last stage, it was like, I have to be the hero here.
Maybe. I don't know. So, I mean, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges a little bit because, Thanos is a much different villain than any other villain in the MCU. He's one that, in some ways, because of his ultimate goal, is kind of empathetic, as opposed to pick somebody. Pick
Carnage. Carnage was my.
Well, he's not in the MCU though.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Just pick anybody. I mean, what's your goal? I mean, the only other one that maybe stands on the same plane is Michael B. Jordan. As far as being an empathetic character or whatever. But I don't know. But Loki's only a bad guy for like a minute. You know what I mean? He oscillates back and forth between being a good guy.
Would you say that, like, I mean, and not to be that guy because I love these movies, but the villain's always kind of weak until Thanos. Yeah.
Well, and we talked about how in a lot of the solo movies, the villain is just an evil version of the hero. Iron Man, Ironmonger, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Killmonger. The list you can kind of Thor's sister. Whatever. They all kind of fit that mold. Thanos is a little bit different. I mean, I think the big tentpole movies, the villains they have to be more because they're fighting a whole group. If you really want to break it down to who's the best villain in the MCU, I can't remember the guy, Baron Zemo from Civil War. He's the best villain in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because he tore the Avengers apart. You know what I mean? Thanos galvanized them to rejoin back together. So I would make the case that the best villain of the MCU is Baron Zemo from... Is that his name? I feel like that's not his name. I have to look it up. He's going to be coming back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, though.
I say he's coming back. Helmut Zemo.
Yeah. Baron Zemo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe is in the comics he's Baron Zemo. He tore the Avengers apart, and he wrecked Captain America and Iron Man's their relationship, which was tenuous to say the least to begin with. So I would say that's your best villain in the MCU.
Yeah, I think on the technical, I don't think you're wrong at all. It's weird. It's weird when you see that movie and you're just like you actually do pick your side, and you're picking the two most popular Marvel characters other than maybe Spider-Man ever. Yeah. So you're going like, oh, do I? I'm picking.
Well, Wolverine.
Wolverine, yeah, probably pretty high up there. Do you think that these movies, the MCU movies, have boosted the like actual rankings? Over
100%.
Wolverine, though. Okay, that's what I thought too.
Of Wolverine?
No, over Wolverine.
Oh.
Like putting Captain America and Iron Man over Wolverine in people's minds. Because Wolverine was like everyone's favorite, and then these movies, other than Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is the clear number one.
I would say until Logan.
Okay.
Because Logan is, in my opinion, objectively a better movie than anything in the MCU.
Maybe, but then it's also not like really a Wolverine movie. Even though I love that movie, I think it's really good. It's not like your traditional comic book movie, so I don't know. Well,
they based it on the Old Man Logan comic book.
Oh, right, I read those comic books. Yeah, I remember reading those. But
and
I don't know if everyone else is really
just more. It's just, in my opinion, better. It's just better.
Well,
it's just a better movie. Right.
It's an adult movie. It's made for. It's not for everyone.
Right. It's definitely not for kids. I mean, when you have Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and he's like spoilers for Logan, and he's in that thing and he's dropping F-bombs and he's going off the rails and everything. It's definitely not for kids. I just think it's a better movie than a lot of the MCU things. So I would say that. But the other thing is, the other outlier here is Deadpool, who's immensely popular because of how off the rails he is, and breaks down the fourth wall and everything like that. So you kind of have to factor him in to the mix. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think a lot of people didn't really care for Iron Man, didn't really care for Cap, didn't really care for Thor. I definitely think that it boosted the profile of characters like Black Widow and Black Panther and Hawkeye and some of the other. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody knew who the hell those people were.
Nobody knew.
So it put some people on the map, or put different characters on the map. But the success of those early movies allowed them to take those chances. So I don't know. I mean, to get back to the original question, is Iron Man a better hero than Thanos is a villain? I mean, we haven't really talked too deeply about Thanos as a villain. I think he's a more menacing villain in the comics. He literally courts death. Yeah, he literally courts death. He's in love with death. He's way more unhinged. He's way more menacing, I think, in a lot of ways. They make him very empathetic in the movies. In my opinion, Avengers Infinity War isn't an Avengers movie, it's a Thanos movie. And they even end it with Thanos will return, as they do all of the solo films. So I think that's the thing, but I don't know. That's a tough question to ask. Is Iron Man a better hero than Thanos is a villain? I would say if I have to choose a side, I'm going to say that Iron Man's a better hero.
I think at the end of the day, you do go that direction just because there's also more content.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Thanos is always kind of lurking in the background.
Right, he's lurking, and he's maybe the manager of all this other like craziness, but you do see Iron Man do his thing.
Right. So those are your listener inquiries. We have a great show tonight. Nelly and the Saint Lunatics are here.
Oh, good. I didn't know they'd show. Thankfully they did.
They're going to be doing
Nelly
some...
is going no Band-Aid tonight, from what I hear.
Wow. He is pulling out all the stops. We have our 6-pack of primary topics, clip of the week, and our quick hitters in the 6-pack. You ready to crack open that 6-pack? I got my 6-pack of key lime.
Ooh, nice.
Key lime LaCroix.
We should get sponsored by LaCroix.
I do love the naturally essence to innocence of LaCroix.
0 calories, 0 shame.
That's right.
LaCroix.
Key lime tastes like flat Sprite.
No, I haven't had key lime in a while, but yeah, it does. I usually
it's my go-to. Key lime's my go-to.
I understand that. Yeah, you always have the essence of being in Florida.
Right. Number 1. This is the way to the Mandalorian review discussion. Spoilers. And here's the thing: is I'm going to I think I'm going to timestamp these in the episode description. I know there's probably going to be some people who have not seen the episodes as we review them each and every week. This will post live the day that episode 2 airs on Disney Plus. So you've had a week, so you don't have an excuse. But if you're a slacker and you don't want to hear the review spoiler discussion, I will put timestamps in so you can go ahead and skip to the next topic. Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal. Pablo Pascal returns in the role of the Mandalorian along with a somehow more adorable Baby Yoda. In Chapter 9, The Marshal, which takes place on Tatooine, Mando is joined by Timothy Olyphant in the role of... So Timothy Olyphant stars in the role as Cobb Vanth, the Marshal in this town. Timothy Olyphant, of course, is most famous for playing sheriffs in the HBO drama Deadwood and the FX drama Justified. So Cobb Vanth had purchased the legendary Mandalorian bounty hunter Boba Fett's armor, who went out like a stone-cold bitch in Return of the Jedi. The Marshal and the Mando teamed up with the townspeople as well as the Tusken Raiders to take down the Great Dragon, which was terrifying the village. And then Mando, of course, rides off into the sunset, and as he does, we see Temuera Morrison, who most famously played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones. He was the original clone of the Stormtrooper army and the father of Boba Fett. So speculation, obviously, is that this is Boba Fett, as Boba would have been a clone of Jango. So, although some others speculate that this may have been a rogue clone, what did you think of Episode 1 of Season 2, Chapter 9, The Marshal?
I literally, after we got done watching it, I just said to Jane, I was like, why are the new movies not as good as this episode? I loved it. It was incredible. It might have been. It's in my top 3 of the show because the way it left you hanging, the way you're introduced. I love Timothy Olyphant. He could be in anything and show up. I think he's great as like this kind of guy that shows up in shows and just does his thing. He's a good, like, not good guy, not bad guy, just kind of there guy that you don't know anything about him. He's great as that. He plays
the same character that he plays in Deadwood, just with way less efforts.
Right. And also, like, how is Baby Yoda cuter now? Why is he so cute? Why is he so damn cute? I love it. It's incredible. This show, the thing about this show that I love and I hate at the same time is, like I said, why weren't those movies so good as this show is? Because this show is incredible. Like, this is the best Star Wars content since the 80s. And now it's just happening. And we had 6 other movies that have happened. And yet the show is insanely good. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, and I'm glad we staggered. I'm glad we get it week to week. Because I kind of like that old school, like the way we grew up. But if you put all 10 episodes out, I would just be like, I've got 10 hours, let's do this. Because it's incredible content. It might be I think it's my favorite show right now. Like, that categorizes all shows that are still kind of going on and everything like that. Barry's very close. I really love Barry. Man, just, it keeps you in your seat. It's serious, but it still has a little bit of, a little tongue-in-cheek every once in a while. It's Star Wars the way Star Wars should be, and if you're a Star Wars fan, whether you're a very nerdy Star Wars fan or you're just kind of on the outside but you like Star Wars, I think it just gets everyone in. It's hard to figure out anything to dislike about it, and this episode was everything I wanted. It was more than I wanted. I wasn't expecting to be this good. I wasn't expecting to want episode 2 so badly.
So I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit, and we'll break this down a little bit further. Mandalorian, Din Djarin, Mando, strolls into a fighting arena where he is speaking to a one-eyed Cyclops alien who is voiced by John Leguizamo of Luigi fame from the Mario Brothers movies. Yes. Finds out that there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. Here's where things kind of get a little bit sticky for me, and I'm going to throw out a few negatives. Number 1, why in the hell does everything happen on Tatooine in this universe? Why is that a place that we are continuously going back to for movies and shows and interstitial movies, and the prequels have to happen there, and then the originals are there? It's like small universe syndrome to me. I mean, this is a galaxy far, far away. We should be able to go to some different wells to get our water other than the same one over and over again.
Do you think it's just because it's a name that registers with people?
Yeah, sure. And they do want to introduce, and obviously they want to introduce Boba Fett, and that's where he allegedly died. So,
right.
That's probably the way to do it. But this is also the second time in the show that they've been there. They were there in season 1 as well. So I have a little bit of issue with that. I also have a little bit of issue with the lack of creativity in terms of this is very similar to the 4th episode from the 1st season, in which Mando teams up with Gina Carano's character, whose name escapes me, Cara Dune, and they defend the village from the bounty hunters who have commandeered the ATST. So you have joining up with an outside force, saving a village from an external threat. And I get it. They need to move the plot along. They need to have, something serve as, why does this guy have Boba Fett's armor? And, what's the deal with this? And maybe Boba Fett's there. And whose cape and boots did we see at the end of the one episode and at the end of the last season that took place on Tatooine? So I get how they're trying to move the plot forward in different ways, but it's kind of samey to me, and I feel like that they could do a little bit more with it. Now, that's the nitpicks. The cool things were, number one, the near shootout in the bar that was like, and Jon Favreau has said The Mandalorian is inspired by old Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns.
Right. And
so for them to have that sort of like that tense stare down and almost the situation where they have to draw on each other, a la, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, was awesome. I will also say that the bartender in the alien bartender was played by W. Earl Brown, who plays Dan Doherty, the bartender in Deadwood. So that was kind of a cool little
nice
homage there. Like we said, Timothy Olyphant's character was so popular after one episode that there's people saying he needs his own series. That's how much he was loved after this first episode, how cool he was. And like you said, he plays that sort of like that gritty, sheriff kind of guy. He played it to a T in Deadwood. He played it to a T in Justified. So he fit the role so perfectly. And there's sort of like dry humor back and forth. We've said ad nauseum that the new Star Wars stuff is like way over top with the goofy, silly humor. But the way that they had sort of like the dry back and forth really fit the tone for me for what they were going for. I just read today with regard to that episode was they hired a deaf actor who's fluent in sign language to play one of the Sand People and help create the sign language that they used in the episode. So I thought that was very nicely done. I mean, I feel like the resolution of how they were able to kill the dragon was kind of predictable to me.
Right.
So there was that, and then the big thing at the end with was it Boba Fett, was it not Boba Fett? We'll see. I'm interested to see if they bring back the Cobb Vanth character for more team ups in the way that they continuously brought back Cara Dune and Carl Weathers' character throughout the first season, because I'd love to see more of him on screen for sure.
Sure. Yeah, I would too. This is one thing I thought about while watching this, because I always think like, and Timothy Olyphant's in anything. Why is he not a more popular actor? Isn't that weird? Like, he hasn't had his own like real thing where like this is the Timothy.
I mean, Justified was like 5 seasons.
Justified was, yeah, but I mean like in movies, I guess is more what I'm thinking. The big screen, because he's good, he's captivating, and every time he's in something, I'm like, count me in. This guy's great, and maybe it's just. I don't go beyond that kind of stuff, but it's just like maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe it's just something he chooses to do, because he's great and he was great in this. And when he took the helmet off, and because I stayed away from anything. I didn't want to know a single thing about this show. When he took it off, I was like, oh my. I knew we were in for a treat.
Yeah, the motif was just perfect. Yeah, the tone of the episode, they really nailed the tone as far as like, Mando and the and the guy who they're calling the Marshal. It just felt like it was out of an episode of Deadwood, which is one of my favorite shows for sure. Number 2, the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the Tampa Bay Rays in the 2020 World Series. Bizarre moments abound in Game 6 when Kevin Cash gave Blake Snell, who was dealing at the time, the early hook, and Justin Turner also got the hook after it was learned that he tested positive for COVID. Turner was later on the field celebrating with teammates with no mask on despite his positive result. Any thoughts from the World Series? I have one main one. I have one big one, but I'm gonna. No. I want you to. I want you to.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
So, as someone who is a traveled Dodger fan because, I grew up as a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. It's the only Pittsburgh team I root for, having been from the state, and just because I couldn't stand the arrogance of the other two sports franchises there from people. You get it.
Oh, I get it.
You get it. And, do I root for the Pirates now? I'm not going to answer that. But I do root for the Dodgers. And the thing that I was excited. I was pumped. We were recording the podcast that happened, and we stopped it. We were finished, and I got to celebrate, and it was a great time. Here's my thing. He tested positive. Guess what? He was doing all that stuff, hanging out with everyone while he was so positive with COVID. So guess what? If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. I didn't care. He came on the field. They're also quarantined. Some players are still quarantined still in Texas.
Okay.
So all this kind of stuff is like, okay, but the plan was to stay quarantined anyhow post the World Series. Taking Snell out was crazy.
Yeah.
I know that Cash is a big analytics guy, but there's got to be a point in time where you have to throw that out the window. And it might not even been him. It could have been higher up. This was probably designed in the pregame from management. Like, third time around, those players come in, he's out.
You're getting a hook.
He's out.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, was he dealing? I mean, when he got the hook, we're recording. I gave a fist pump when they took him out, and because I knew the Dodgers had it. I knew they had it. I knew that it was over. They were going to win because he was dealing. The bullpen's been not great for Tampa because they've just been overused because that's what they do, and I think that was a poor decision on that end. I think the Justin Turner stuff got overblown. I think people were just looking for something to kind of blow up about. But imagine if Tampa won that game, what happens? They have to quarantine for, like, both teams have to quarantine for a week probably. And then we get a weird Game 7. I'm glad it didn't happen. It might have been cool if it happened. I don't know. But that would be my 2 cents on it. I'm happy the Dodgers won. They deserved it. They got screwed by Boston and by Houston, more notably Houston, but Boston cheated too. I know
sure.
People forget that Boston cheated, but Houston cheated, and Dodgers finally got what they deserved.
So this was my take on this, and it has really nothing to do with the outcome of the World Series. Corey Seager was the MVP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now my question is, who are the Indians trading Francisco Lindor to? Because the Dodgers aren't going to give up Seager now.
No. Maybe.
And that was the prime.
Yeah,
that was the prime. The whole.
That was the prime candidate.
All the rumors were Lindor to the Dodgers, because they're one of the only teams that is going to be able to afford his price tag.
Maybe they just trade him to the Yankees somehow.
Yankees don't have anything. They don't have any prospects.
I know.
For that type of haul. So now I think that the Dodgers winning, not only did the Dodgers winning, but Sager winning the World Series MVP and playing out of his mind in the playoffs hurts Cleveland, which I know that that's probably not going to make sense to a lot of people, but it hurts the Indians because that was their primary trade partner, and they were looking at getting top prospects, and that's what Cleveland's all about is, that to stay competitive in a small market team, they have to win their trades, or they have to be competitive on their trades whenever they trade their big players. The Indians regularly fleece people on the smaller trades. They'll trade a ham sandwich lunch for Corey Kluber, some guy nobody's ever heard of, and then he wins 2 Cy Youngs. They'll trade an aging out of his prime Bartolo Colon and have it end up being 4 years of all-star caliber Grady Sizemore and a Cy Young out of Cliff Lee. They're great at fleecing people on some of those lesser trades, but they don't always win their big trades. And that's going to be a problem now because now you're having to go further into the cupboard for less sure things when they inevitably trade Francisco Lindor this year.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, here's my thing with that is I'm glad the Dodgers aren't going to trade Corey Seager away because I think the Corey Seager we saw in the playoffs is actually what the Dodgers can get from Corey Seager.
Well, he's no slouch to begin with.
He's not a slouch.
I mean, how much of it, realistically, how much of an upgrade is Lindor? Is he that much of an upgrade? I mean, Lindor at his prime is an A+. Yeah, sure.
It's a lateral move, but I think the upside is higher with Corey Seager. Just because you don't know how
someone...
No, my reasoning is you don't know how someone's going to perform in a big market if they're not in a big market.
Yeah.
Corey we know can perform in a big market, and Lindor, I love Lindor. You know how much I love Lindor. I just don't know how he's going to perform in a big market, and I hate to see him go somewhere. And the LA media is not as tough as New York or Boston, of course. It's just nothing can be that tough. But you just never know. He gets the big, he gets traded, he gets a big deal. He's on the, he's on the same team as freaking Bellinger and Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is, if he's not the best, Mike Trout is still probably the best player in baseball, but Mookie Betts is the most exciting. He's the face of baseball, as far as I'm concerned. He is the most exciting player to watch. I love Mookie Betts. I loved him when he was in Boston, but I couldn't love him because he played for Boston. I hate the Red Sox. But he's incredible.
Here's my thing. Frankie Lindor put the Indians management in a tough spot.
Yeah.
When they asked him, the media asked him at season's end, can the Indians afford you? And his response was, of course they can. This is a $1 billion team. Now, that puts the Indians in a tough spot. Here's what puts them in a tougher spot, in my opinion. Francisco Lindor is great. No denying. Generational talent from the shortstop spot. Jose Ramirez has finished third or better in the MVP 3 out of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be talking about paying Jose instead of Frankie. Because here's the other thing is Jose Ramirez can play 5 positions.
Jose Ramirez is a better player than Frankie Lindor. But does that suck to be an Indians fan and you have 2 of maybe the 6 best players in baseball on your team and there's no chance of winning a World Series?
Yeah, because I could hit better than the outfielders that they currently have.
Right. And that's terrible.
We have one of the best rotations in baseball. We have arguably the best left side of an infield in baseball.
And you have no chance of winning. Like, I would say the Indians have just as much chance as the Pirates to win the World Series, and the Pirates are
the
5
worst
generations behind. The Pirates are the worst organization in sports. We'll touch on that.
Greg Way.
Right now.
David asked from Carton City writes in and asks, is the Chris Archer trade the worst trade in Pirates history with 2 former Pirates, valuable contributors to the Rays World Series?
It's the worst trade in sports history.
No.
No, I think it is. And here's the reason. Nobody thought it was a good trade when it happened. Chris Archer was crap when he got traded to the Pirates. I don't care what anybody said. Nobody thought that was a good trade. I don't even know we saw what they did. It's incredible that the Pirates organization isn't inept. It's run by children. I'm sorry, but it is terrible. And it's just, and it's offensive to that. I know. I'm just saying. You know how much I hate the Pirates organization. You know how much I hate the Pirates organization, and it is incredible. When this happened, I remember tweeting out something of like, "This is the worst trade the Pirates will ever do," and it came back full force because it's terrible. And like, I went back, I looked at former trades. They gave away Aramis Ramirez. They gave away certain players. I mean, whatever. This was a trade that everyone knew at the moment was a terrible trade. It's different when things pan out a different way. Prospects. Everyone knew this was terrible the moment it happened. Chris Archer was not that great, and we knew we were giving away really good talent, and it showed off. The Pirates organization is a dismal disaster of pathetic losers, and I wish everyone would just go away from that organization. I don't want anyone to go to those games ever. When you can go back, don't go. It's terrible. I hate it. I hate it so much. I spent thousands of dollars going to those games, and there's no reward. It's the worst organization in sports. It's the worst trade I can think of where everyone knew it was terrible.
All that aside, they've made some, and we kind of talked about this with the Indians, and they have to, if you're a small market team, like the Indians, the Pirates, the Oakland A's, the Minnesota Twins, the Kansas City Royals, any of those teams, you have to hit on your draft picks, and you have to hit on your trades. The Indians have routinely, for the last 30 years, hit on their trades. They don't hit on their draft picks as much. They hit on Frankie Lindor, but they don't hit on their draft picks as much. The A's hit on their draft picks. They don't hit on their trades as much as the Indians. Pirates don't hit on anything. They hit nothing. They hit on Garrett Cole and McCutchen.
But then
they're 2 for 30.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also McCutchen, when they gave him away, I understood it, but God, he was such a lovable guy, and you just why just keep a lovable guy around. Garrett Cole didn't want to be there, and I don't blame him. because nobody wants to be there. I live in California too. I get it, Garrett. I mean, like, get out of there. But I can't imagine, like, if that was an actual business, like a business, it would be bankrupt and it wouldn't exist anymore. But because it's a professional sports franchise, it somehow still exists. It is terrible. It is terrible. There was a point this time, because I kept track of the Pirates record all season long, and they ended up winning, a few more games than expected. There was a point where they were only going to win, like, 6 games. Throughout the whole season, because they were just so bad.
They were at one point, in terms of winning percentage, behind the Marlins, and the Marlins had only played like 3 games.
Right, exactly.
Because of the COVID outbreak.
How bad they were, and they were trying to win games.
Yeah.
And I had people on Twitter who were like, you understand they have injuries and stuff like this. It's like, no, you're just
Josh Bell was terrible.
Josh Bell is, the whole lineup is terrible. There's not a single player on that team. I would love to see the whole team just flipped around next year. Because there's not a single player there that I think is worth anything. I'll say that right now. There's not a single player on that roster worth anything. Pay me $3 million to hit nothing. I can do it. I'm plenty good at hitting nothing. I'm a terrible baseball player. I love baseball. I couldn't hit anything. I was scared. Those guys seem scared. They seem more scared than I am of baseball.
All right. This is not a baseball.
You knew I was going to go off on that.
Oh, yeah. This is not a baseball podcast, so allow us to proceed.
Yeah, we'll move on to the Kardashians.
To the Kardashians. Kim Kardashian and her family are getting a lot of heat in the media due to a private island getaway. Public outrage was shown to the popular TV reality family for spending the weekend of Kim's 40th birthday at a private island, citing that the family is out of touch with reality for having such a lavish party weekend in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Kim posted that after 2 weeks of multiple health screens and asking everyone to quarantine, I surprised my inner circle with a trip to a private island, which immediately became a meme. It's also worth noting that Kanye gave Kim the gift of a hologram of her late father, because of course he did. During the backlash, it came out that Khloe Kardashian battled a nasty case of COVID earlier this year. I'm gonna, as at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to just say your piece, but then I have something that I'd like to say as well about this.
Okay, I will say, is this shocking to anyone? They're out of touch reality.
I just want to say right now, and we do this, we record this, we use Zoom to record.
My hair is crazy right now.
You look insane.
I am insane because we went back-to-back Pirates trades and the Kardashians. And also election coverage. So
you look
a lot
like you look like you just cracked Paul Allen in the face with an axe.
Maybe I did. You're not getting a reservation at Dorsia now. Anyhow. So,
proceed.
So if people are surprised by this, then they obviously have no idea who the Kardashians are. That's the one thing I'll say right off the bat. You have no idea who the Kardashians are. This is what they do. And also, they can afford to do things like this. I'm sure everybody was tested. I'm sure everybody was fine. I don't care. They had a party. Kendall Jenner had a Halloween party, and there's a lot of backlash to it. She's Kendall Jenner. She's worth a lot of money. She also could probably have everyone tested, and everything was fine, and Miley Cyrus got upset. She unfollowed people. I'm sorry. That's what these people do. There is nothing, they're super, super rich, and they're super, super famous, and they have abilities they have access to things that most of us don't have. There's a certain person that, there's certain people out there that, coach a football team in Alabama, and he was able to coach his football team 4 days later. Somehow he got through COVID.
Yeah, right.
There's a guy that, is the leader of a country, and then he came back 4 days later and led the country, or whatever you want to call it. He got through. These people have access to things, and that's what money does. That's what you do when you're a Kardashian. You also have to be in the public eye when it doesn't look like you should be in the public eye. I think it's just, like we've said before with other things, I'm not 100% on the all publicity is good publicity.
Sure.
It's one of those things where it's just like, we're in the eye, Kanye not shocking by Kanye. Nothing shocking.
Not a hologram.
What would shock you
That's
about
so
Kanye
cool.
right now?
If he said
What would
something
shock you
normal.
about Kanye? Yeah. If he just, I mean, we said the thing about the Star Wars thing. That was
Right.
actually, but it'd be funny. Like Kanye just came out and he's like, you know what, goldfish. That's a pretty good snack. We'd be like, what? Yeah, you're right. What do you? You sure? Like, you don't mean like just eating the goldfish out of a bowl? He said, no, the actual snack.
Yeah.
The actual crackers.
Just on its own.
Crackers. Yeah, and just regular cheddar. He's not saying like the super cheddar or the pizza one or whatever. He's just like, just the original goldfish. That's a good snack. Then we'd be surprised.
Sure.
Nothing surprising. I'm for it. I stand with the Kardashians. I've done this all along. Whatever. If people are haters on them, then they obviously are just bored and don't get it.
Here's my thing, and this is going to this is going to shock the world. The stance that I'm going to take on this particular topic. I'm with them, and let me tell you why.
Oh, yes.
Let me tell you why. If I have that kind of money, and I have access to a private island, and there's a pandemic, I'm just living there, and whatever, sending the peons out. I can't with what you have going on with your hair right now. I'm sending the peons out to get food. I'm having food delivered by boat or whatever. Yeah, if I'm an ultra rich person and I have access to a private island, I'm hunkering down there like it's nuclear winter until all this blows over. So I mean, I don't really care. Like if you've got an axe to grind with the Kardashians, you've probably got to take a hard look in the mirror. Because they are what they are, right?
Yeah, this is just par for the course. I don't think there's anything different, and I think they were looking for some other outlet other than to talk about the current state of affairs.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think that's more or less what it was.
Yeah. I mean, and people like to hate on the Kardashians
also, Courtney,
because
she put up pictures this week with her with blonde hair, and I was not great. Because that shook me. I was not ready for that. But anyhow, like we've talked about her, she's my favorite Kardashian. So here we go. I just had to point that out. I just had to make sure that people know I'm still in touch with the Kardashian family.
Number four. In an interview with GameIndustry.biz, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan tossed some shade Microsoft's way. Ryan praised Sony's ability to grow studios organically rather than purchasing outside studios. The quote reads, "It's probably not widely appreciated or understood to what extent that we have grown our own game development capability organically over the course of this generation. Obviously, it's been helped by the acquisition of Insomniac, and it's wonderful to have them as part of the family. I would just invite anybody to take a look at the launch window lineup of the PlayStation 4 generation or the PlayStation 3 generation and compare it to what we are bringing to in the equivalent phase of the PlayStation 5. There's just no comparison. That is the fruit of not massive spending sprees, but very, very steadily, carefully planned organic growth. Probably the best example I could obviously talk about Naughty Dog, but they've always been making great games. But let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima, which has been a critical delight and certainly a commercial delight to an extent that we didn't think it would be. That speaks volumes to the work that Sucker Punch has done to build on those previous canon work. We are lucky enough to have 5 or 6 studios who fall into that category, but it isn't luck because we've been working on this for years and years, very quietly in a very PlayStation way. We've been building something quite special with these studios. You can do it with frenzied acquisition or measured acquisition, or you can do it organically." End quote. And with less than a week to go on the release of the Xbox Series X and Series S and the PlayStation 5, the console war is certainly heating up. And this is a pretty obvious swipe at Microsoft for dropping $7.5 billion on the ZeniMax and Bethesda studios. And so basically Jim Ryan's saying you can go out, and he's saying basically, we are the team that builds from within through drafting and developing our players, and Microsoft is taking the New York Yankees approach and just trying to buy talent.
That was literally what I was going to say. I mean, this is just the New York Yankees versus the Tampa Bay Rays kind of thing. It's funny.
Here's the difference. The difference, though, in that comparison is that instead of the Rays not having any championships, Sony has all the championships.
That's true. That's true. So Kansas City Royals, if we want to go back there, they got that one championship there with like that weird right.
I mean, they went back-to-back years.
Yeah. So that's cool. I like shots fired. I like that. That's fun. You don't, because as far as you don't really see that as much in like people kind of usually stay a little.
Not really. I mean, not with like the big names. The last time that I can really think of this being a thing was initially Xbox. The Xbox One was going to have it so that you couldn't like move disc games to other systems, and so like if I had a game and wanted to share it with you, I would have no way of doing that. And Sony did a commercial where they said, "This is how you share games on PlayStation 4." It was just Shuhei Yoshida handing a disc to whoever the other guy was, Jack Stratton or whoever. So that's kind of the only time I can think of it. It's more. This happens more coming out of PlayStation than it does Microsoft. I will say Microsoft is generally very humble when it comes to they don't talk a lot of crap. They just kind of do their thing. So I will say that is. Worth noting. I mean, it's fun. It's banter.
I like it. I mean, next week's the week where you and I won't have PlayStation 5s.
Right.
And I guess another thing on that is I tried, what's today? Today's Tuesday. So I tried Saturday to no avail.
I wouldn't be surprised if some went I wouldn't be surprised if like a wave of orders went live like the day these things went out.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think? I think the day of I might try.
Yeah.
And just see what happens.
Well, I've seen like on Twitter and stuff that some of the the local places might have extra ones. GameStop, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, whatever. A couple other like Costco might have like one or two clanging around. But I think that's.
Then I have to go into places and I don't want to be around people.
Yeah, right. Right. I mean, I'm gonna. I'm still playing the long game on the Amazon thing, and we'll probably continue to do that. But I think they're gonna be. They've said that they want these things to be more accessible than the PS4 and the Xbox Ones were. And those were pretty wide. You were able to find those in the wild. After release. So I don't think it's going to be too long of a wait. I think I'll be able to snag one by Christmas.
That was my projection. I was like, do you think I'll have one by Christmas?
Knock on wood.
And, I think that's my hope by Christmas. I forgoed a couple pairs of sneakers. I decided to go against them because I don't need them. I don't need a PlayStation 5 either, but I was like,
I do.
I'll forgo these to...
I need one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I understand that. But I really want one, and I decided, do I want one of those more than the pairs of sneakers? And I decided, yes, I do. So I forgot sneakers that I really, really wanted, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully I get it by Christmas.
Yeah, I'm hoping. And then I think after I get the PS5, I am going to start socking away some money for an Xbox Series S. I do think I'm going to get one. I recently came into an Xbox 360, which is going back a little way, but there's some games that I'd like to play on that I've never gotten a chance to. So I'm going to check some of those things out as I wait. Number 5, Josh Gad, who is most notable for providing the voice of Olaf in the Frozen films and LeFou in the live-action Beauty and the Beast, posted an 8-minute long video recapping the prequel Star Wars trilogy in the voice of Olaf, and it was exactly what I would have wanted it to be. Did you check this out?
Incredible. I watched it today. It was great. Let me grab my notebook, which I had to set aside because... Well, anyhow, he just made really good references. I love how he talked about Anakin just needed counseling.
You're right.
If he would have got 1 week of counseling, that would have been terrific for him. It was just... It was actually better than I thought it would be. I knew it would be good.
Right.
And I loved it, and I can't wait for more to come. I guess he lost a bet, and that's why he has to do this now. I didn't dive too deep into what the bet was, but it was a lot of fun. I
thought it was like a vote thing. I thought it was like a get out the vote thing. Yeah. He got so many people, so this was his exactly yeah. So I guess he's going to do.
It was worth it.
I guess he's going to do the prequels, the main ones, and the sequels.
Yeah.
So that ought to be great. But here's my thing. This was great. It was fun. But somewhere along the line, it was confirmed that Michael Pena, who is Lewis from Ant-Man, did a recap of the entire MCU as Lewis from Ant-Man. And if you're familiar with those films, you're familiar with the way that Lewis recaps things. We need that.
I want that in my life.
I think that's what gets America through the pandemic. Is Lewis recapping
through literally everything.
Yeah. Actually, if we could just do Lewis recapping 2020, that would be good.
He should just do Howard Zinn's book.
Yeah.
About America, and I would just oh my gosh, I had no idea that existed.
I'm 90% sure. I know it exists because they've said it exists, but I don't think it's been released, and that's something that has to happen. That has to happen.
It really does. Yeah, that's incredible content.
Number 6, celebrities are being very vocal this week about voting, making sure we get out the vote. Whatever your politics are, do you think that this matters? Selena Gomez was on the verge of tears, and Beyonce also.
I just think here's my thing, and no matter what side you lean on, I don't think it helps that much.
No, I don't think it matters at all.
This is why I put it in here, because it's one of those things where I think they think it helps. I don't think it matters. I think if you want to vote, you're going to go out and vote. I mean, I voted in advance, and it had nothing to do with anyone telling me to do it. It's because I wanted to go out and vote. I think the thing that it does is, if you've already voted, I think it gets you a little more, fired up about it.
Sure.
Because like I've said before in this podcast, I really like Selena Gomez. And to see her on the verge of tears about this was just it's nice to see people that are of privilege and, have access to things, to care so much about something that ultimately I really think doesn't matter to them, on the day-to-day.
Right.
And I think that's where it matters in that end of thing. I think in the end of voting things, it doesn't, it doesn't matter, but I think it's cool to see when people, one side or the other of the scale, it's cool to see people that don't necessarily need to do anything. Lady Gaga was in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
That's cool. I think that's cool. I don't think it helps the vote, but I'd like to see that they care.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's a nice thing.
Yeah, I don't think it matters at all. I don't think that, Chris Evans telling you to go vote. I mean, that's literally Captain America telling you to go vote really makes a difference in most people's lives. I mean, granted, I believe we're headed for record turnout. I mean, like we said, it's election night. It's it's about 11:15 here on the East Coast, and I think we're headed at record turnout. But I think that has less to do with people saying, you have to go vote, and more to do with just how divisive everything is right now, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. But I definitely think that, like you said, it's good that it shows that it's important, but I think that it kind of gets overblown when celebrities and athletes and things. Now, I will say the NBA has done a nice job opening up the arenas as polling stations so that people can go vote in a more safe manner where there's more space and things like that. But this happens every cycle. I mean, the Foo Fighters did the whole Rock Against Bush thing, and there's been plenty of people to come out and support Trump or Biden or whomever, and I just don't think that it really matters.
I think the only thing that really makes it, and I hate to say let's put the topic in, it doesn't matter, but I think the thing that makes it matter a little bit is maybe there's younger people out there that don't understand the importance of voting,
that's true,
and follow celebrities, and they're like, oh my gosh, so and so is voting. I can't wait till I turn 18 and I can do what this actor, actress, singer's doing.
Sure.
I think maybe that helps going forward. But I think if you're already active, it doesn't help. But I think for people looking forward, because we all say it's important to vote, but until someone that you look up to or isn't part of your family tells you something, sometimes that helps. I think sometimes it helps, and I think maybe that's the end game for a lot of these people. It's maybe it doesn't help right now. Of course, you would like for it to help right now for whatever your position is, but maybe you're I'm influencing someone, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road.
I will say, from what I saw today, just watching the coverage, that the younger folks seem to be out a little bit more than they usually are. All right, clip of the week. Do you have the link?
I do have the link.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this while you get that going. I've been spending some time watching some public freak-out videos. Most of them were not appropriate for our family-friendly.
Normally, that's not the case. Oh, no.
Yeah.
My link is unavailable, Brenton.
Okay, so go to YouTube.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go ahead and do this with you.
This is the beauty of the podcast because
this is okay. So if you're following
Cruz,
along,
I don't know what's going on.
If you're following along, go to YouTube. And mine's loading a little bit slow. And I wanted to do something that I felt like would hit home for you. So type in bookstore freakout.
Oh gosh, I've had a few.
And it's going to be the top one. Crazy chick flips out in Barnes and Noble.
Oh, I've seen this.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, that's not fun, man.
Somebody else sent it, but it's so fun to watch.
Right.
There's actually a theory out there that this was staged. Though.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and listen to it. And I know because usually it comes through on your audio. For the folks at home, let me know when you have it going.
I gotta go right now.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Okay. There she is.
I looked it up in my system.
This poor guy.
I'm not coming across any
Yeah, he's great. He maintains professionalism throughout.
Would you like to see if I can order one for you, possibly?
Oh, you should have them here. He's very popular.
Well, we're probably
Paul
just sold.
Sheldon,
Most likely just sold out.
Misery. Have you ever read the Misery novels?
I'm
They're
not-
very good.
I'm not.
They're very
familiar.
good.
I'm more of a history kind of guy.
How can you not know Misery? You work here. How can you not know? Look, Paul Sheldon writes the Misery novels. They're very good. I'm looking for the latest one. Misery's Child. I really need that to complete my collection. I really think you need to have that here. Misery.
I don't have it in the store, but I could probably order it for you.
I'm not interested in waiting. I've already waited a long time for the paperback to come out. Paul Sheldon, Misery's Child, Misery in France, Misery Betrayed, Misery Love. You don't know any of these books? What kind of cockadoodie bookstore is this?
Cockadoodie bookstore.
Paul Sheldon? Paul Sheldon? Let me tell you something. I am Paul Sheldon's #1 fan. His #1 fan. And you can't be telling me that you don't have Paul Sheldon's books here. Isn't there anybody here who knows about Paul Sheldon? Isn't anybody familiar with the Misery books? I'm telling you. How could any
What's funny is everyone's staying so chill about this.
Yeah.
Paul Sheldon.
Because whether it's staged or not, it's good that they.
Well, I think it's staged. She's doing a bit, but everybody else is just watching this. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else knows.
I can order it for you.
I love how he just pops out. I can order her for you.
Ma'am?
And scene.
And see.
Basically what I want to hear there.
And now here's the thing is, and this is why I'm 99% confident that what she's doing is a bit, is that Stephen King's Misery is about an author named Paul Sheldon who writes the Misery books, and then, Kathy Bates and James Caan plays Paul Sheldon in the movie. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what she's doing, like a thing. And then at the end of the thing, she goes, "Oh, Stephen King, this looks good." And she just kind of walks off. But I mean, she stayed.
Good content.
Yeah, I mean, she stayed in character the whole time, and everybody else didn't know what the hell was going on. And I want to give that guy, I want to give the sales associate a 5-star rating because he maintained professionalism throughout, just getting obliterated by this lady.
As someone, we both have worked in bookstores.
Yeah, we both have. Yep.
I currently do. I have not come someone that aggressive, but I have come across aggressive people that are like, "How do you not know this?"
Yeah, sure.
And then you find out that it's a print-on-demand book, or it's something that's just out of print for years.
Yeah.
And, and you try to maintain your calmness. That guy, he is aspirational.
I'll tell you what.
Right there.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Maybe with a turtleneck, I don't know, but he kills it.
Yeah, he does great. I just want to point out that at the bookstore that I worked at, that we sold a lot of Amish fiction.
Naturally.
As is custom.
Naturally.
All right.
A lot of, just straw fiction. A lot of straw, a lot of hats. A lot of hats in this fiction.
A lot of cousins.
Yeah.
A lot of kissing cousins.
Yeah, a lot of kissing cousins.
There you go.
I rode the bus with with Amish people, and one of them, his name was Marvin. He was a troublemaker. He got me in trouble many times. I was a troublemaker too, but he got me in trouble a lot. I had to sit in the front of the bus silent and just not Amish fiction. That's fact. That's nonfiction, right there.
It's a little bit of biographical information.
Yeah, that's where we're from.
Yeah.
I rode the bus with Amish people.
Yeah.
There you go.
Quick hitter time. Uncharted. The Uncharted movie is wrapped. Ended filming. I would imagine we'll get a trailer for this shiny turd here soon.
I'm not excited.
This just segues into Tom Holland filming for Spider-Man, so I'm more excited.
Right, I was gonna say,
about
like, this is just get ready. Like, thank God he's done with this. Let's get to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's where we're at with this.
Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri in Black Panther, suggests that an all-females Avenger movie is inevitable. What do you think about that?
It wouldn't shock me. I have a concern that it might have that Ghostbusters.
Yeah. But that wasn't good because it was all women. It wasn't good because it wasn't funny.
Yeah, and it just, if the right people are doing it, then I have no concerns.
Right.
And Marvel's been good at having the right people do it. I think you have the right people. If you think about the females in the MCU right now, they could do something like that, and I don't think it would be a problem at all.
I just don't want it to be seem like forced.
Right, and that was literally my next thing is like make it all female, but have a few like characters in there that make it work well. That you don't think about it being an all female cast because otherwise, if it's just slam down on us, we're gonna be like, oh, MCU. Yeah. I think it could work. I like in my mind, I feel like there's a movie out there that could be perfect, but we're just not gonna think about it. It's kind of like, and honestly, it's just the way Black Panther worked.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the way you do it. You don't try to throw it down anyone's throat. You just say, here's this movie, boom. And it's, Black Panther's one of my top 3 favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, agreed. PS Plus games for November include Middle-earth Shadow of War, Hollow Knight Voidheart Edition for PS4, and the first entry for PS5, which is Bugsnax. Bugsnax, of course, looks like a fever dream. Xbox games with gold, Origami, Shadow Edition, Swim Sanity, Full Spectrum Warrior, and Lego Indiana Jones. As always, add these to your libraries, even if you have no intention on playing them at this particular time, so that you can access them later if they tickle your fancy. Hollow Knight's real good. It's real hard. I definitely plan on playing it a little bit. I don't think I'll get the Platinum Trophy in it because it takes over 100 hours and it's 10 out of 10 difficulty. But it's real good. It looks really good. It's reminiscent of Cuphead, which is another just brutally hard 2D side-scroller game. But I definitely would say. And then obviously Middle-earth Shadow of War is a Lord of the Rings game, so if you're into that. I don't really know much about the Xbox games other than Lego Indiana Jones. Probably a great time because those Lego games are usually pretty mindless fun.
I was going to say, the Lego game just seems like it'd be fun.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're pretty mindless, but they're good palate cleansers every now and again. A portrait of the Mandalorian and the Child is on display at the National Portrait Gallery in London.
It's great.
They're everywhere.
It's really fun. It looks really cool.
They're so hot right
glad
now.
It's there. Anytime I can get Baby Yoda with me, I'll take it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Sony's in negotiations to buy Crunchyroll for $957 million from parent company AT&T, according to Kotaku. Sony owns Funimation and licenses all of its popular anime to various streaming services, including Netflix. Crunchyroll has 70 million free subscribers and 3 million paid subscribers. I think this would be a big get. I know anime is probably a bit of a niche hobby amongst some of our listeners, but 70 million subs is nothing to sneeze at. And I know that Netflix was talking very recently about how popular anime is on their platform as well. So $957 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's about 3.5 times what they paid for Insomniac.
I was going to say, that's great. They obviously are confident in that buy, which is cool, and I think going forward would be, seems like a win.
Netflix is raising its price from $14 to $15. The news comes weeks after their forecast for new subscribers was softer than originally anticipated. I give it about 5 years before everybody's paying $30 for Netflix.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a point where, I just keep subscribing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's their model.
stuff,
Is they
yeah.
get people in at the low price and then they just incrementally move it up, and it's like, well, I mean, I have it. You know, I'm not going to cancel
I'm
it.
not gonna-
And you maybe, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, my kids watch a lot of like the kids stuff on Netflix, but I go months at a time without watching things on Netflix, but it's just there.
Yeah. I mean, I've recently just been watching more things on Hulu because of what I've been watching is just more associated on Hulu, but I'm not canceling my Netflix
Right.
account because I still get the Great British Bake Off on there, so I'm going to watch that. And honestly, like, you know, I don't know what price it would be before I would stop doing it because as long as I get something that I like on there, that's worth it to me. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I'm curious at what point do they add live TV in and try to go the Hulu route a little bit, or try to get sports like Prime does with Thursday Night Football.
I have a feeling Netflix has an NFL thing coming up their sleeve here soon.
Do you think they'll get Sunday Ticket?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
I think they're going to get Sunday Ticket, yeah.
Okay. Do you have some insider information on that, or that's just your intuition?
That is honestly just I was listening to a podcast about something similar, but they didn't mention Netflix, but they did without it.
Sure.
And I was like, I said to myself, I was during a run, I said, Netflix is getting an NFL Sunday Ticket.
That'd be pretty
And
wild.
I said to myself,
How would they do?
It'd be
Would they
awesome.
do that
I mean-
on a month by month, or do they do? Would they do it like they do now, where it's just like you can buy it, you know, this
I think you
season
would have
for?
to buy it. Season, yeah. That's what I would think. I work Sundays. If I didn't work Sundays, I'd be all about it. Because
Right.
when I didn't work Sundays for a while, I did have an NFL Sunday Ticket, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ariana Grande's new album "POV" is great, says you.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's super sexy. If you're not ready for that, I don't know what to tell you, but as LA Times said, Ariana Grande had a lot of core sex, and she wrote an album about it. So, meaning quarantine sex. So
That's
it got a little, yeah. It's not dirty. I wouldn't say it's dirty. It's just
Right.
that she gets very into it about the music, and if it's one of those things where she's not going too far off her game of changing. It's not an experimental album at all. If you like your Ariana Grande, you're gonna like this, and I think most people that like pop music like Ariana Grande, so I'd give it a listen. But when we get to our recommendations, I'm going way off the board.
all right.
Yeah.
Sean Connery, Sir Sean Connery, passes away at the age of 90.
We have talked about this. The reason why I like James Bond is Sean. I mean, the reason why I only like James Bond is because of Sean Connery. I remember during Christmas, and this might be, I don't know if any, but AMC used to just, I think it was AMC, used to just run the James Bond movies ad nauseum during Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's just what I did. You had your Christmas break on school, you had 2 weeks off, and I just watched all of them.
Yeah.
I have seen all of the Sean Connery movies, and all of the early James Bond movies. I've seen them at least all 25 times.
Yeah.
Because they just run them, and they're, for the most part, all pretty good. For Mushroom with Love is my favorite Sean Connery James Bond movie. He's gonna be missed. I mean, it's just he lived a great life. I mean, like, if anyone lived the life, it's Sean Connery. So that's what I have to say about it. It's just the penis might you.
Yeah, I was going to say he probably saw a lot of resurgent popularity sort of late in his career because of the Celebrity Jeopardy skits on Saturday.
And The Rock.
Yeah, well, sure. And he saw a lot of popularity due to Daryl Hammond's portrayal of him being just wildly inappropriate towards Will Ferrell's Alex Trebek on those Celebrity Jeopardy skits. I will say my favorite Sean Connery movie is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He plays.
That's a great.
He's
thing, yeah.
Henry Jones Sr. Plays Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford's dad. They make love to the same the same German woman, which is awkward. But it's great, and I think he got kind of towards the end, like he was in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he could like barely move, and they were trying to market him as an action hero, and that really wasn't working. But yeah, I mean, 90 is that's no joke. I mean, he lived a life, that's for sure.
Yep.
So, and you kind of alluded to, so we're to our media recommendations. So, take us to the
All right.
uncharted corners of the map.
The uncharted chorus. I'm gonna start off. I told you. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I said I read Alain Ferrante's The Lion Life of Adults, and I had not read the Neapolitan novels. I'm on that now, which I love. I'm on. It's so good. My Brilliant Friend. I'm about halfway through. It's just incredible writing. I love it. I love coming of age stories. So I know that's going back, but it's Italian. It's a lot of characters. It feels like The Godfather, but like teenage, like adolescent girls and a family. But it has like so many characters. It's very interesting. It has some tongue-in-cheek humor to it, but mostly it's serious. Mm-hmm. Music, though, a lot going on here musically for me this week. I was listening to the Tony Kornheiser podcast, and he always has music play. And Money for Guns. Have you heard of Money for Guns?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, you would love it, dude. Check out the song Pure Electric Sound. The guy sounds like Jack White.
Okay.
And he's a really good guitar player. The band's really good. I've listened to a few other songs. That's probably like the song that, would capture most people that are, not, just testing something out. But the music's really good. I would highly recommend that, especially since they're a small band. It's nice to get small bands, some credit out there. And then I was checking out NPR's Best Albums of the Year. And Jason Isbell had an album that came out in May, and it's him and his band called Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. It's called Reunions, and so far so good. It's actually listed as rock music on Apple, even though he's a country musician. Just like Sergio Simpson had his latest album was also listed as rock, which is funny. Not the Cutting for Grass, but yeah. So I'm going way off the board. This is not pop. This is not what you normally hear from me. But I would say these albums are what I've been listening to the past week, and really, really good. And just anything to get out there for people that aren't necessarily on the top of the charts, but still make good music.
I've been listening to The Weeknd. His new stuff. He keeps looking more and more like Hercule from Dragon Ball Z, and it's like freaking me out. I'm still listening to Open Mike Eagle, and I've been listening to a lot of the Rolling Stones lately. I don't know, something triggered it in my head. I saw. So I follow these music accounts that if you're on Facebook, I share them from time to time, and they're like bad puns that deal with music. And one of them was Jack Nicholson from The Shining busted through the door, but it was Mick Jagger, and it was "Can You Hear Me Knocking?" And that just like triggered me. I was like, I want to listen to the Rolling Stones now because of this. So I've been doing that. Sure. Yeah, right. The rabbit holes my mind takes me down. I did get back into Utopia. I watched the second episode. I'm planning on picking up steam with that. The second episode I liked a lot more. It's very violent. It's the death count is high. So it's definitely not something that you want to watch with your kids in the room. I also started watching Cobra Kai. Have you watched this at all?
No, I've only heard good things.
Yeah,
I just haven't got to it yet.
So Cobra Kai is picks up 30 years or whatever after the Karate Kid, and the protagonist is the guy that Daniel-san kicks in the face at the end of the first movie and knocks him out. He's the protagonist, and it's him like trying to rebuild the Cobra Kai dojo, and it's really funny. It's just like, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It knows exactly what it is, but it's pretty funny. And then I'm playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I know I've been playing that for a while. I'm finishing up on it. I anticipate that I'll have the Platinum Trophy in the Requiem Collection by next week's episode. I'm looking for one room on the map to give me 100% on both the regular castle and the inverted castle, and then I'll be able to move on to some different things. Keep playing Fall Guys. I play it a little bit every night. It's kind of like I said with the Lego games. It's kind of a nice palate cleanser to just sort of turn my brain off and do some Fall Guys stuff. And I'm doing way better in season 2 than I was in season 1 as far as getting like actual wins. I make it to finals pretty regularly, and I've been winning a lot more, so that's fun. But that's what I've been up to.
Nice.
Yeah. So we do want to say before we, sign off and everything, next week we're going to be having a guest on. It's going to be our first guest. He's an author. He's a podcaster himself, JCL Felto. That's his pen name, Josh Felto. So please, submit questions, submit comments, anything that you might want us to ask him. We plan on sort of interviewing him and then including him in the regular show, just as sort of a third wheel. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing is, we want as much engagement from the people listening as possible. We want a lot of listener inquiries. We want commentary. If you see something, I think the one listener, Jared, brought up last week, like, have you guys watched this show? And it kind of got me back into Utopia. So we want that engagement. So if you see us post on social media through any of our accounts or whatever, please, don't just hit the like button. Give us your thoughts. Give us your feedback. We want to hear from everybody that's listening to this, regardless of whether you agree, disagree, tell us we're wrong, tell us, that you think that the new Star Wars sequels are great and that you want me to defend why I think they're terrible. We want to have those conversations. We want to have that engagement with the audience. So please, leave reviews and share and everything, but also leave your feedback because we want to have those conversations directly with the audience.
I love feedback too, and also I will. If you suggest music to me, I will listen to it.
Right.
I am one person that is I will. I know I talk about pop culture, but pop music. I like I just stated, I listen to anything. So if you just have a band or a person, even if it's very small, let me know because I will find it. I will listen to it because I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I will say the other thing that I'm planning on doing is as I edit these things, when the Mandalorian ends, I'm going to supercut all the review discussions into one big Mandalorian episode, and then maybe we can do something at the tail end of that to just give an overview of the entire season. But that'll be available. And then the two things is that we talked about with the YouTube channel, other than just putting the static image with the podcast on, was possibly uploading all of your pizza reviews that you've done to the YouTube channel. And then I wanted some feedback to see what potentially people would see if they would be interested in seeing me stream Fall Guys. When I play it at night for my PlayStation, because I have a little bit of a setup that I could do that with. So if you want to partake in that, let us know. Let us know if you want pizza reviews and you want me to stream some games or whatever to the YouTube channel. But other than that, you can follow us on Twitter at GTFilson and at Y2B, as well as at BXG Podcast. On Instagram at GTFils and at Y2B and at BXG Podcast. Subscribe, like, follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/BXG Podcast. Send emails to bxgpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe, leave kind reviews, share, recommend to your friends, tell your parents.
Tell your mothers.
About the unmistakable essence of the BXG Podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great week. Next week, we're very excited. We're going to have the Bee Gees with us in the studio. Woo!